What if I told you that reality isn't actually solid until you look at it? What if the very act of you paying attention to something literally brings it into existence? I know this sounds like science fiction, but this is real quantum physics, and it's about to change everything you think you know about how reality works. In today's video, we're going to dive deep into one of the most mind-bending discoveries in quantum physics called wave function collapse. And here's the thing, this isn't just some abstract scientific concept. This is the actual mechanism behind how your consciousness creates your reality. We're going to explore how particles exist in multiple states at the same time until the moment you observe them. Then something magical happens. They collapse into one definite reality. But here's what gets even more fascinating, and this is something we'll explore deeper in our next video. If particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for your life, your dreams, your possibilities? We're talking about quantum superposition, and trust me, once you understand this concept, you'll never see your potential the same way again. So here's the thing, by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how your observation, your awareness, your focused attention is literally selecting one version of reality from infinite possibilities. And more importantly, you'll know how to use this knowledge to become a conscious creator of your experience. Let me start with a story that's going to sound absolutely crazy, but it's been proven over and over again in laboratories around the world. Imagine you have a particle, let's call it an electron. Now, according to classical physics, this electron should have a definite position and a definite speed at any given moment, right? Wrong. In the quantum world, before you look at this electron, it exists in what scientists call a superposition. This means it's literally in all possible positions at the same time. It's here, there, everywhere, and nowhere until the moment someone decides to observe it. The second, and I mean the exact second, a conscious observer looks at this particle, it collapses from all these possibilities into one definite position. This is called wave function collapse, and it's one of the most well-documented phenomena in quantum physics. The wave function represents all the possible states that a particle can be in. Think of it like a cloud of possibilities, but the moment consciousness enters the picture, boom, that cloud collapses into one specific reality. Now, let me give you an example that might make this easier to understand. Imagine you're in a dark room and there's a coin spinning in the air. While it's spinning in the dark, it's neither heads nor tails, it's both and neither at the same time. But the moment you turn on the light and observe it, it has to choose. It collapses into either heads or tails. That's essentially what's happening at the quantum level with every particle in existence. The famous double-slit experiment proves this beautifully. When scientists fire electrons through two slits without observing which slit they go through, the electrons behave like waves and go through both slits simultaneously, creating an interference pattern. But the moment they set up a detector to observe which slit the electron goes through, the electron suddenly starts behaving like a particle and goes through only one slit. In the comments, drop one word that captures the energy you're choosing to carry forward. Maybe it's alignment, maybe it's abundance, maybe it's power, maybe it's something uniquely yours. Let that word be a small but profound declaration, a signal like a quantum seed you plant, not just in this space, but in the quantum field. The implications of this are staggering. What this means is that reality at its most fundamental level is not fixed. It's fluid, it's responsive, and it's waiting for consciousness to collapse it into a specific experience. Your observation isn't passive, it's creative. You're not just witnessing reality, you're selecting it from an infinite field of possibilities. Now, here's where this gets really interesting for manifestation. If particles collapse into definite states based on observation, what happens when you consistently observe, focus on, and pay attention to specific outcomes in your life? What happens when you direct your consciousness toward particular possibilities? According to quantum physics, you're literally collapsing the wave function of your reality. You're taking all the potential futures that exist in superposition and selecting one to experience. Your attention, your belief, your focused awareness, these aren't just mental activities, they're quantum activities. They're reality-creating mechanisms. Let me share something that quantum physicist John Wheeler once said. We are not only observers, We are participators. In some strange sense, this is a participatory universe. Wheeler was talking about something profound here. We're not separate from the reality we observe. We're intimately connected to it. We're co-creating it with every moment of our attention. This connects beautifully with ancient Chinese philosophy, particularly the concept of the observer and the observed being inseparable. The Tao Te Ching speaks about the interplay between the seen and the unseen, the manifest and the unmanifest. What the ancient sages intuited thousands of years ago, quantum physics is now proving with mathematical precision. But here's what's even more mind-blowing. And this is where we start getting into quantum superposition territory. If you can exist in multiple states simultaneously before observation collapses you into one reality, imagine the possibilities this opens up. We're talking about parallel versions of your life existing right now, waiting for your consciousness to select which one to experience. Think about this. Right now, there's a version of you that's already living your dream life. There's a version of you that's already achieved your goals. There's a version of you that's already healed, already abundant, already in love, already successful. These aren't fantasies. According to quantum mechanics, these are actual possibilities existing in superposition. So here's the practical question. How do you become a conscious observer? How do you direct your attention in a way that collapses the wave function toward the reality you desire? First, understand that your default state of observation matters. Most people go through life on autopilot, unconsciously observing their current circumstances and thereby reinforcing them. They look at their bank account, observe lack, and collapse the wave function into more lack. They focus on their problems, observe difficulty, and collapse reality into more difficulty. But when you become conscious of this process, everything changes. When you deliberately choose what to observe, what to focus on, what to give your attention to, you become a quantum architect of your experience. Here's a practical technique you can try today. Instead of observing what is, start observing what could be. When you wake up in the morning, before you check your phone or look at your circumstances, spend 5 minutes in possibility. Observe the version of your life where things are working out. Feel into the reality where your desires are already fulfilled. You're literally training your consciousness to collapse the wave function in a new direction. But before we move forward, I want to invite you into something real. If you've been feeling like something's making sense, and if a part of you is realizing your own power, tap like if you just had an aha moment, because like attracts like, and subscribe. Stay with the space, grow with us. Also, join our manifestation club on gogetter.ru, get inspired by reading manifestation stories, and share your story to inspire others. You're stepping into a community where these kinds of quantum awakenings are our foundation. Now, let's get into the neuroscience behind this, because your brain is literally a quantum observation device. Every time you focus your attention, you're creating neural pathways that make it easier to observe the same thing again. This is why people who focus on problems tend to see more problems, and people who focus on solutions tend to see more solutions. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this beautifully in his research on neuroplasticity and quantum consciousness. He explains how the act of repeatedly observing new possibilities literally rewires your brain to become a better quantum observer. You're not just changing your thoughts, you're changing the physical structure of your consciousness. The reticular activating system in your brain is constantly filtering information, deciding what to bring to your conscious awareness. When you program it to observe abundance instead of lack, opportunities instead of obstacles, possibilities instead of limitations, you're essentially reprogramming your quantum observation device. Here's where ancient wisdom meets cutting-edge science. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "Nothing is permanent except change." What he intuited was that reality is in constant flux, constantly available to be collapsed into new forms through conscious observation. The Hermetic principle, as above, so below, speaks to the same truth. The quantum realm and the manifest realm operate on the same principles. But here's what gets really fascinating, and this is setting us up for something profound we'll explore in our next video. If you can exist in superposition like quantum particles do, that means there are infinite versions of you existing simultaneously right now. There's the version of you reading this who's struggling financially, and there's also the version of you who's abundantly wealthy. There's the version dealing with health challenges, and there's the version enjoying perfect vitality. This isn't metaphysical speculation, this is quantum mechanics. If consciousness can collapse the wave function, and if particles can exist in multiple states until observed, then theoretically, you exist in multiple states until you collapse into the one you're currently experiencing. What's one thing you truly want to manifest, and why is it important to you? Drop it in the comments. I'm giving away 2 one-on-one free sessions to help you bring it to life. Be honest, be you. Let this be your quantum declaration to the field of possibilities. Now, let's talk about practical application, because understanding this conceptually is one thing, but actually using it to transform your reality is another. The key is becoming intentional about your observation habits. Most people observe reactively. Something happens and they observe it, and then they collapse more of the same into their experience. But conscious creators observe proactively. They choose what to observe before their circumstances force them to observe something else. Here's a technique I call quantum focusing. Every day, for just 10 minutes, practice observing your desired reality as if it's already collapsed into existence. Don't visualize it as something that might happen in the future. Observe it as something that's happening now in parallel reality. Feel the emotions of that reality. Think the thoughts of that version of you. You're literally tuning your consciousness to collapse the wave function in that direction. The legendary manifestation teacher, Neville Goddard, understood this principle decades before quantum physics proved it. He taught that imagination is not just creativity, it's the very mechanism by which consciousness selects which reality to experience. He said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. In quantum terms, he was teaching people how to observe the desired outcome until it collapses into physical experience. This is why gratitude is so powerful for manifestation. When you feel grateful for something you desire as if you already have it, you're observing that reality. You're collapsing the wave function of abundance instead of lack. You're being a conscious quantum observer. But here's where it gets even more interesting, and this is crucial to understand. The quantum field doesn't distinguish between what you call real and what you call imagined. To the field, your vivid imagination is observation. Your clear mental picture is quantum measurement. Your emotional engagement is consciousness collapsing possibility into reality. This explains why visualization works, why affirmations can be effective, why meditation creates change. These aren't just mental exercises, they're quantum practices. You're literally using your consciousness as a measurement device to select which version of reality to experience. Einstein famously had issues with quantum mechanics. He said, God does not play dice with the universe. But maybe the universe isn't random. Maybe it's responsive. Maybe it's waiting for consciousness to participate in the creation process. Maybe every moment of your attention is a vote for which reality you want to experience. Here's something profound to consider. If reality is truly collapsed through observation, then every person is walking around collapsing their own version of reality based on what they habitually observe. This means we're living in a world where billions of consciousness units are each collapsing their own quantum experiences. This explains why two people can go through the exact same situation and have completely different experiences. They're literally observing different aspects of the quantum field and collapsing different realities. One person observes opportunity in a challenge and collapses the reality of growth. Another person observes threat in the same challenge and collapses the reality of struggle. Now, here's where this connects to something even more mind-bending that we'll explore in our next video. If particles can exist in superposition, in multiple states simultaneously, and if consciousness collapses these possibilities into single realities, what happens when you stop collapsing? What happens when you learn to exist in superposition like the quantum particles do? Imagine being able to exist in multiple realities simultaneously until you choose which one to fully experience. Imagine having access to all versions of yourself, the successful one, the healed one, the abundant one, the joyful one, and being able to consciously select which one to collapse into your daily experience. This isn't science fiction, this is quantum superposition applied to consciousness, and it's going to revolutionize how you think about your potential. But we'll dive deep into that in our next video, because what I'm about to share about existing in multiple states simultaneously will literally blow your mind. Which part of today's video spoke to your soul? Comment below, I read every single one. Your insights help me understand what resonates most with this incredible community of conscious creators. For now, let's focus on integrating what we've covered today. You now understand that reality isn't fixed until you observe it. You know that your attention, your awareness, your focused consciousness is literally selecting which version of reality you experience from an infinite field of possibilities. The key is becoming intentional about what you observe. Instead of defaulting to observing your current circumstances and thereby perpetuating them, start observing your desired reality. Spend time each day consciously collapsing the wave function in the direction of your dreams. Remember, you're not trying to force reality to change. You're simply becoming aware that reality is always in flux, always responsive, always waiting for consciousness to participate in its creation. Wave function collapse isn't something that happens to you, it's something you do with every moment of your attention. Make sure you share this video with your loved ones. Remember, you're not just sharing, you're spreading quantum consciousness, and that elevated awareness creates ripples in the field that benefit everyone. When you help others understand their power as conscious observers, you're literally contributing to a more awakened world. And here's something incredible to think about as we wrap up. If you're starting to see yourself as a quantum observer, if you're beginning to understand your role in collapsing reality through conscious attention, then you're ready for the next level. Because in our next video, we're going beyond just collapsing possibilities into single realities. We're going to explore how you can exist in quantum superposition, how you can literally access multiple versions of yourself simultaneously before choosing which one to fully embody. We'll discover how the most successful people intuitively tap into parallel versions of themselves. And I'll share specific techniques for maintaining superposition until you're ready to collapse into your highest possibility. If you're ready to discover how to exist in multiple realities at once, how to access all versions of yourself simultaneously, and how to consciously choose which reality to collapse into your experience, then you absolutely cannot miss our next video. The quantum superposition techniques I'll share will change everything you think you know about your potential. Click on the next video now, because once you understand how to exist in superposition like quantum particles do, you'll realize that you don't have to choose between different versions of your life. You can access them all simultaneously until you're ready to collapse into the one that serves your highest good. Reality is far more fluid and responsive than you ever imagined. You are far more powerful than you ever dreamed, and your journey into quantum consciousness is just beginning.